Okay. Good morning. Sabah al-khair. Assalamu alaikum. Buenos dias. It's been a minute since I've recorded one of these, and I feel like the more I space them out, I feel like the better quality they are. I'm more excited and I have the enthusiasm to share stuff about nursing. But honestly, I wanted to make this video specifically about NCLEX and passing boards and finally becoming a new grad nurse, because it's July and I'm seeing a lot of new faces, new scrubs, and I've had like some recent messages and like comments on my YouTube short where I say that I didn't study for my NCLEX. I do want to really stress that even though all nursing schools suck, I think the one thing that really stood out about my nursing school was the last semester. We had 4 semesters, and the last one was like an NCLEX crash course. And so we used ATI, which is a supplemental learning source or supplemental learning company, where the company has like textbooks, an online website where you can have like a question bank. You have certain like VSIMs, like virtual simulations on how to take care of patients with certain disorders. So it was like the entire learning platform was on ATI. And so it was really cool that at the end of nursing school, we had this one pink book where it had a crash course of everything we learned throughout the entire program. And so with this crash course, we were able to review every single subject, every single system, like pediatrics, adult med surg. There was like a semester where, so with the 4 semesters, we had fundamentals of nursing, and we also had pharmacology. So there was a crash course on that. The second semester was med surg and maternal newborn, so we had a crash course on that. The second was med surg 2, which was more so critical care and trauma, or ED and like admissions. And then with that we had pediatrics, and then the final semester, of course, was like our roles or our crash course. So with that being said, we also had like a couple hours of like a live ATI representative who went over how to like combat like test taking strategies, and it was just a lot of information. It didn't even feel like information overload. I felt like we got a lot out of that conference with ATI, and I just felt like overall it really helped us, because ATI is way harder than the NCLEX and any other textbooks that we used throughout the program. I feel like it really helped our critical thinking skills and how to pick the most orange, if you know what I mean. I also feel like what helped was the fact that when we were finishing up passing nursing school, we had the ATI comp predictor. I'm not sure if I made a video about this, but I can make a completely separate video on how I passed the comp predictor. My story with the ATI comp predictor was I took it the first time, and yes, I took my NCLEX Next Gen, and my second attempt for my ATI comp predictor was also Next Gen as well. And I feel like I was the guinea pig, and I was the first part of the first year that we were stuck with the Next Gen. Like, we were the first people to try it out and to test it. So the first ATI comp predictor I did not pass, and I think I still have like my rationales and how well I did and what subjects I did poor on. But I was very scared, because when I found out that the second attempt was going to be the Next Gen, we didn't know like how the exams were going to look, how the questions were going to look. We had a few, maybe like 2 weeks of practicing like the Next Gen questions, which was matching, fill in the blank, and that was all like new to us. We had no idea what that was going to look like. But alhamdulillah, like thankfully I passed the ATI comp predictor. Now, getting more specifically on how I passed like my NCLEX and what I did to study, I was already burnt out. I was picking up more shifts at my hospital because I was working as a tech since my second semester of nursing school, and I was burnt out. I was working a lot of hours. I was trying to live my life. I was trying to hang out with friends, and I was at work, and ATI had an adaptive exam that you can do, like a mock exam, just like the NCLEX, like adaptive. You can set it to how many questions. I set it to unlimited questions, 85 being the least amount, and then I can't remember what's the max, like 160 was the max, I believe. So I just did it just like that, just like I was taking the NCLEX, and I was at work. So I did an ATI adaptive exam, and it told me I had a 50% chance of passing the NCLEX. And I about gagged at work. I was about to leave, was about to walk out. I was like, there's no way. Like, I can't believe I worked this hard, spent all this money on nursing school, just for ATI to tell me that I had a 50% chance of passing the NCLEX. Luckily, I had a login for Archer, which I don't know if I'm going to get, like, canceled because of this, but I had somebody else's login for Archer, and it worked. So right after I took that ATI exam, and I'm surprised that I had enough time to take these 2 exams, but I think it was because I was in an ICU. I got floated to an ICU, and normally we don't really take care of patients unless the nurses like ask us for a second set of hands. We usually just do like eyes and nose, like basic stuff, and all the nurses were like, they were set that night. So right after I did the ATI comp predictor, right after I did the ATI adaptive exam, I jumped straight into Archer, and I took 1 adaptive exam, same settings, adaptive, 85 being the least amount of questions, and like 160 being the max. It told me I was going to pass in 85 questions. So I was like, okay, well, I trust Archer. I've heard great things about it. I did Mark Klimek videos like ages ago. I did them throughout nursing school. I didn't realize like what study tactics to prioritize until like my 3rd semester. So by the 1st semester, I was trying to figure out like, these aren't your cookie cutter kind of questions in college. So that was the 1st semester. 2nd semester, we had so many different resources and textbooks, I had no idea which to prioritize. Plus I was working a new job, so like that was just a mess in itself. 2nd semester. 3rd semester was when I finally was able to prioritize ATI. We had books in every single subject, every single semester. We got not every single semester, but every single semester we prioritized ATI books relating to what subject we were on. So, when I heard like a lot of people were using Mark Klimek audios or Archer like during nursing school, I felt like so overwhelmed with all of these extra things. Plus I didn't have that much money, so I just used what my school had. I had a lot of trust in Archer, and I heard a lot of great things that people would, you know, do all of the questions from the question banks that they had, and they would pass like the adaptive exams. So once I saw that 85 pass, I was like, there's no way that I'm going to study. Like, what more can I do to prepare myself? When I hear other students like studying for NCLEX, they're doing every single question in the question bank from ATI, from Archer. They're doing Mark Klimek videos. They're watching YouTube videos. They're taking notes. That is what I consider studying for NCLEX. That is what I did my last semester of nursing school. I didn't really study. It was a crash course that was integrated into my program, and I'm so grateful for that. But at the end of the day, I did not really study for NCLEX. I studied what my nursing school provided for me, and at the end of the day, I looked at the rationales because I wanted to see, why did I get these answers wrong? And again, I can put like a pretty detailed description in like this video, but there wasn't really much that I hadn't already known. It was like hypothyroidism, or I don't know, some like mechanism of action, or like what medication could have been better for this patient. But that was nothing of what I got on the NCLEX. The NCLEX, what I got was like isolation precautions. What PPE am I going to wear? What isolation precaution is this illness, disease, process, you know? And honestly, like, I feel like a lot of people who end up getting like OB questions, I feel like that's a phenomenon to me. Like, I don't know how I hear so many people getting OB questions and then that determining whether they pass or fail NCLEX. I really can't grasp that concept, because the NCLEX is really testing to see if you're safe to practice as a nurse. I do have a few people that it took them a couple of times to pass. I really don't know. Like, I share my story with everybody, and I try to give the best advice. So please, like, share your story in the comments below, because I would love to know what you did, what your opinion is, and what you're afraid of. Because I also have noticed that a lot of people delay taking and passing, well, taking their NCLEX and scheduling their sit pass because they're just intimidated by the exam. I promise you, it's just a test your safety, and nursing school was the worst of it. This NCLEX should be a piece of cake, and I feel like the majority of nursing students just psych themselves out. You're already a nurse, babe. If you graduated, you're already a nurse. You got this, and I don't know why you chose this profession, because we're all exhausted, and we all want to leave bedside and pursue higher education, hopefully.